The discovery of America. History has taught us that Christopher Columbus discovered America, but it never taught us who helped him find this land. To this day, of all the historic sea expeditions that brought new knowledge and wealth to humanity, nearly half only became possible because of the Jews. As a wandering nation, the Jews had a special advantage. They knew very well what existed in every corner of the world. Moreover, most of the instruments used in sea voyages for centuries were inventions of the Jews, such as maps, the compass, astronomy, and many more. For this reason, no other nation had the same level of expertise in conducting sea expeditions. That's why they were given special respect in the naval departments of every country. On August 2nd, 1492, approximately 300,000 Jewish inhabitants were expelled from Spain. The very next day, on August 3rd, Columbus set out on the Western Sea Route, taking with him a group of Jewish sailors. Columbus himself repeatedly admitted his close friendship with this particular community. He would first share all his new expedition plans and discoveries with them. From childhood, we have heard that seeing Columbus's great interest in sea exploration, Queen Isabella donated many of her own gold ornaments to him. Ships were built and all necessary supplies were purchased with that money. However, it is rarely mentioned that she did not give this donation for nothing. In the Spanish Empire at that time, Queen Isabella had 3 close Jewish advisors. They were Luis de Santangel, the powerful merchant from Valencia and tax farmer of the royal treasury, Gabriel Sanchez, the royal treasurer of Spain, and Juan Cabrero, a member of the royal chamber. They knew very well how to influence people's imagination. At that time, Spain's economy was in terrible condition. Trade was struggling badly, so the amount of wealth in the royal treasury kept decreasing. They had to borrow money from various countries to buy food. It became urgent for them to take quick action to restore economic balance. People at that time had a false belief. They believed that if a new land was discovered, hidden treasures might be found. This was mainly the result of the Jews' long-term propaganda. They cleverly implanted this belief into the Queen's mind as well. She thought that if Columbus truly found a new land, there would surely be a lot of wealth there, which would restore the country's economic balance. That is why she pawned many of her own gold ornaments to arrange the necessary funds. Luis de Santangel requested money from the Queen even before the expedition started. He was given 17,000 European gold coins, equivalent to approximately $160,000 in 1923 value, which was much more than the total cost of the entire expedition. Accompanying Columbus on the ship were 5 high-ranking Jewish sailors. Their names were Interpreter Luis de Torres, Surgeon Marco, Physician Bernal, Alonso de la Calle, and Gabriel Sanchez. In the middle of the expedition, Luis de Torres landed in Cuba. There he started commercial tobacco cultivation and overnight became the emperor of the tobacco industry. Luis de Santangel and Gabriel Sanchez obtained various benefits from the Queen for this expedition. But after the discovery of America, they themselves trapped Columbus in a conspiracy. Bernal played a special role in this. Influenced by the advisors, the Queen eventually became furious because the imaginary hidden treasure she had hoped for was not found at all. Instead, the whole expedition ended in financial loss. Moreover, the war with the Red Indians had reached its peak at that time. In the end, this famous navigator ended up in prison. Now, they began making plans for America in search of their fortune. Basically, they could not stay long anywhere in Europe, Asia, or Africa. They were being expelled from different countries every few years. So they were looking for a land from where they would never have to leave again, until Jerusalem was recaptured. That would be their safe homeland. At first, they started their journey towards South America, but because of military conflict between the Dutch and the Portuguese in Brazil at that time, they changed their plan. Later, they headed toward a Dutch colony, which is known today as New York. But Dutch Governor Peter Stuyvesant did not allow this immigrant group to stay there. He ordered them to leave immediately. However, they had already created their own protective network in advance. So, even though unwilling, The governor could not completely reject them. He allowed them to stay in exchange for some conditions. The conditions were: number 1, they must invest their wealth in Dutch companies. Number 2, they cannot participate in government jobs. Number 3, they must refrain from wholesale industry and all types of commercial activities. He knew very well what they could achieve with even a small opportunity. They cannot be stopped in any way. If blocked from one direction, they will find a way from another. When the trade in new clothes was banned for the Jews, they started collecting and selling old clothes. Instantly, there was a huge commotion in the old clothes trade. Everyone was shocked. How was this possible? When Jewish trade in goods was prohibited, they began doing business by utilizing discarded and damaged products. They were the first nation in the world to trade in thrown-away waste goods. The Jews were the first to introduce the concept of salvaging materials from sunken ships at sea, something that felt like hidden treasure. They taught how to use old clothes, how to clean old feathers, and how to use cashew nuts and rabbit skins. Their interest in the textile industry has always been at an exceptional level. Even today, they control this industry. The majority of shares in most big brands and companies that produce woolen products belong to this special community. No one can demonstrate better than the Jews how to bring any adverse situation under their control. Unwillingly, Mr. Stuyvesant was eventually forced to allow them to use the New York port. In their eyes, this area was paradise on earth. They began migrating there in large groups. In this way, New York became the city with their highest population and America's main import and export port. Any businessman who wanted to use this port had to pay tax to the port owners. Since the city brought them enormous wealth, they proudly said that perhaps their religion had prophesied about this very land. And this was the New Jerusalem. They would stay here until they could return to the real Jerusalem. During George Washington's reign, their number in America was only 4,000, but all of them were prosperous businessmen. To help America gain freedom from British colonial rule, Haym Salomon, a Jewish businessman, invested all his wealth in the War of Independence. In exchange, the American government gave him and his community unrestricted trade licenses. As a result, there was no longer any barrier in their path to making profit. To them, wealth and personal identity are two completely separate things. If someone falls into trouble, they will definitely show sympathy, but cases of helping with money are very rare. Imagine you mortgage your own house, took a loan from them, bought goods for business, but then a fire broke out in the warehouse and everything burned down. Now you and your family are about to become homeless. In this situation, you will certainly receive their sympathy, but it is almost impossible for them to waive their claim on your house and land. In their eyes, it was only business. Of course, there may be some exceptional cases. At the beginning of the 20th century, the sweet shops that were established in Germany had already spread through the streets and alleys of New York much earlier. Today, sweet shops can be called part of the social system. The attitude of establishing dominance over everyone that they have nurtured for generations is clearly visible in today's labor market. Whatever they wanted has happened. Ordinary people no longer have any savings, because whatever they produce in these factories and industries, we have to buy it. When they add profit on top of wages to set the selling price, ordinary people lose their purchasing power. That is why, despite creating so much employment, it has not been possible to ensure food and clothing for people. There is no place for patriotism in the minds of the Jews. Citizenship is nothing but a tool for earning profit for them. Let's give an example. Everyone believes that America is a Christian country and that Christians run all its business and trade. A Christian from the other side of the world feels happy receiving a product from this country, thinking it was made by one of his religious brothers. But if you look carefully, you will see that the owners of almost all the famous business establishments in this country are Jewish. Even if Gentiles have some shares, the amount is much smaller. The high positions in the institutions are reserved for Jews. What will be produced, how the business will be conducted, and how the profit will be distributed, Jews control everything. The purpose of using names like American Importing Company or American Commercial Company is so that ordinary Americans do not realize these are Jewish institutions. Here is a list of the industries in which they have already established monopoly dominance: film industry, theater industry, sugar industry, tobacco industry, 50% of the meat industry, 60% of the shoe industry, clothing industry, music and musical instrument industry, jewelry industry, food grains, cotton industry currently, metal smelting industry in Colorado State, magazine publishing, news publishing, soft drink industry, lending business. Their success today cannot be denied. Anyone can become wealthy by following their methods, such as raising the price of goods in the market, treating goods as the main principle of business, giving loans in exchange for interest, and so on. It is almost impossible for Gentiles to do these things successfully. Jews have never succeeded in pure agricultural work because Jews simply cannot do it. They are parasites. They live by enjoying the livelihood of others. A farmer works hard all year to grow crops, and they take it away and trade it. So far, they have tried many times to create agricultural colonies in different parts of the world and failed every single time. However, they have made good progress in the dairy and livestock industries. In reality, their relationship with the soil was never good. They were born only to do business. This small point clearly explains why they are so eager about Palestine. Palestine is called the commercial gateway between East and West. Taking this land as their own means establishing their own center as the main commercial hub of Asia, Europe, Africa, and the Mediterranean Sea. In short, although the discovery of America is credited solely to Christopher Columbus, in reality, the Jewish community played a very important role behind this historic expedition, from providing funding and expert sailors to shaping the future economy and industries of the New World. Their contribution was significant. This shows that many major events in history are not the result of one person's courage alone, but the combined effort, knowledge, and strategy of different communities.